Oops, I don't want to use my video though. How do I turn off?
Hey, Britt, I see you online. Can you hear us from in the room?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great, thank you.
Welcome, everyone. I want to call to order the Tuesday, May 19th open meeting, Tuesday, May 19th, 2026. The time is 7 o'clock. Macy, will you take roll call?
Mayor Sterling,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Miller,
Here.
Trustee Jocelyn,
Here.
Trustee Larson,
Here.
and Trustee Kennedy.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, folks, first is the consent agenda. Just something to note is that the 3.5, the adoption of the 2024 International Codes by reference, those will come back to us again as an action item. Correct, Town Manager Kane?
That is correct.
Okay, so this counts as our first reading. So any questions about the consent agenda?
On that international code thing, it says prepared ordinance number XXX. Is that just because we haven't passed it yet? Or
That's a staff thing that we do when we're preparing an ordinance because we don't know exactly when it will hit the queue.
Gotcha.
But it is ordinance 891 is referenced in the title of that.
Okay.
And we'll have that corrected for the second reading.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Any motions?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Miller,
Yes.
Trustee Jocelyn,
Yes.
Mayor Sterling,
Yes.
Trustee Larson,
Yes.
and Trustee Kennedy.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion's approved.
All right, next up are staff reports. And John, is there anything in particular you want to briefly highlight?
I think mostly it's in the staff reports that you see before you. I just really have enjoyed the work of this last few weeks, looking at what we're doing right now, where we're going as an organization, and what we need to be able to carry that forward. If you have any questions for me or staff, we are here.
All right, trustees, any questions regarding the staff reports? All right, hearing none, let's go on to Board of Trustees reports. We'll each give a verbal report. Mine is that I've been working pretty closely with Town Manager Kane on the strategic plan piece that you'll see before you tonight. So that has been a heinous document to kind of pull together. So that has been taking up a majority of my time. Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
Nothing in particular. ProSap hasn't met since our last update. And so, but there's been some review on the feedback that we provided for the Prost. So hopefully that'll come back to us fairly soon. We got most of those edits done asynchronously from the meeting, so that's good. John, anything you want to add on the Prost edits?
Nope, that's going to take a little bit of time to bring forward, but I think we have a good path. So I think
Yep.
it's mostly just getting the time to work on it.
Yep, cool. Nope, that's it for me.
All right, Trustee Jocelyn.
I have nothing to report.
There we go. Trustee Larson.
Ditto, nothing to report.
And let's hear from Trustee Kennedy.
Not much to report other than I attended the second workshop for the Netherland Energy Action Plan.
Cool.
Yeah, mostly just went to learn more about it.
Okay,
And yeah, resiliency was still the hot topic.
good, good. I guess one other thing, and it's already in Town Manager Kane's report, we did meet with folks from the Historical Society to take a look at some of our existing owned buildings, and you'll see it kind of actually called out in the strategic plan, as well as putting a maintenance plan in place for things that we own. So
One additional note about the Historical Society, they will be planting flowers if it is not snowing this weekend. And
Oh,
so
dear.
if you'd like to volunteer and help them make the Gillespie House beautiful, they would probably love to have you.
no, which day, Saturday or Sunday, both?
I can send out an update and maybe we'll put it on Facebook because we're just
Okay.
waiting to see what the weather does.
Yeah. All right, lovely. Let's go to our first action item of the night, 6.1, amendment to the IGA with Boulder County for the Netherland Eco Pass program.
Well, Mayor and Trustees, this is pretty straightforward. Just because he's in the room, I'm going to thank Tom Ahold for helping get this one across the finish line. Also, ex-trustee Tierney Maris was instrumental in this. Basically, what this does is it amends our intergovernmental agreement we have with Boulder County for the administration of our EcoPass program. What it really does is it increases our administrative fee that we get for the work that we do, which was about $9,000. Now it's going to $15,000, which is a lot closer to the kind of the level of work we need for the FTE support that it has. Just to kind of give a little bit of background, since we don't talk about this that much, in 2013, voters approved the formation of the EcoPass Public Improvement District and authorized a new mill levy to provide EcoPasses for permanent residents here in Netherlands. This is kind of it's a little bit broader than Netherlands, but in general, the Netherlands area. This resulted in the original IGA between the town and Boulder County on November 19, 2013, and that kind of established the town's role in managing and administrating this program. Typically, what we do is we provide passes to residents, and then we help clean up the database. We also have a role in the advisory board meetings that happen, so I attend those, and then there's a trustee that attends those, and several residents, such as Gene, who is also here, or he was here, who is on that board as well. In 2022, the town and county approved an amendment that changed that administrative fee up to $9,999. After that, the tax levy was extended for 10 years. And then also we started being able to provide the EcoPass to employees of people who are employing folks within the district. This new amendment really kind of updates the responsibilities of the town and also reflects that we're doing more work for that. We have honestly been working on this a long time. It should have been done before December, but we had some just some things to work through with the county that weren't as quick as they should have been. But one of the things that this does is it will make us whole from last year at that $15,000 level, and it'll move it forward. We're also going to be doing some things looking at our staff time. One of the things really important for me is the FTE requirement for this work. It is a little bit more significant. So we're tracking hours and just kind of generally trying to support what we're doing so that if we do need more money, we can get it. In terms of analysis, I recommend that you approve this amendment. It will bring us current from last year. It will also allow us to get that money this year, which really helps with our staffing levels. It's also a good value for the town and the community. It makes sure that we all have that RTD access. And I will say that RTD improvements in service to the town have really become a lot better since NEPADAC, which is no longer NEPADAC, and I apologize, I'm not remembering the new acronym. But since they've been working on this, I think we've had much more consistent and reliable bus service to town. And I think we have some really good ideas about how we can improve bus stops, such as the one that was destroyed on the highway and then kind of at the RTD lot to make it a more comfortable and safe experience. So that's my recommendation, that you approve this amendment.
All right, thank you. Any clarifying questions, trustees, for Town Manager Kane?
On the town responsibilities, that says a couple of places, a cleanup of all EcoPass holders. That just means. What does
There's a
that mean?
database that is held by RTD, and it's kind of an odd situation because the county holds the contract with RTD. So there's a workaround spreadsheet that allows us to all kind of work together on that. And so what we do is we just help audit that and make sure that folks are on there. We're provided by the assessor a list of sales that happen within the district. So it's kind of a constant little effort just to keep auditing, make sure people who have moved away are taken off, people who are here are put on, and then that we also are working with the restaurants and the businesses such as Eldora is a big one, to make sure those folks have their passes. I don't know, I guess Macy might have a thought about this, but it's a good couple hours a week of work for our front desk staff. But that's part of it. And I think Molly, who's our current front desk person, is doing a pretty good job managing that work.
Cool. And speaking of Eldora, I saw that they're in here as well. Did they already get EcoPasses prior to this?
Yeah, this will be their
This is
third
just-
season upcoming
right.
that they do.
Yeah, cool.
And we typically have an event for them is what we do. So when they're doing their hiring, their mass hiring,
Yeah.
we'll have somebody there to help them with that. And then our town hall staff is available throughout the day. It's not a very long process to give somebody a pass, but you need to have your ID and email address and to be able to access the app, which is increasingly becoming the way that you do that.
Thank you.
Any other clarifying questions? All right, hearing none, we're going to public comment. If anybody has a public comment in the room on the current topic, please come forward and unmute the mic. Agreements or amendment to the IGA with Boulder County on EcoPass. Okay, yeah, go ahead and come to the podium, turn on the mic, state your name and your relationship to town. Is it on? An added step.
I can't tell. It's a green light.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Woo!
It works. I just wanted to make a comment because I had to redo mine. I've lived here for 37 years and occasionally my bus pass doesn't work or, I've had to go in several different times. So I don't know what the problem is, but it's just to let you know that sometimes there seems to be a crazy glitch in the matrix or something. So it may be what he was talking about, that they're redoing everything. So people just letting people know that that's what's happening, because it's really disconcerting to get on the bus and have it go,
Yeah.
and they're pretty nice about it, but you don't never know, they're going to let you come back up or whatever. But it doesn't let you go all over. You have to explain yourself everywhere. So I just thought you should know that, because I've had to deal with that several times.
Thank you. And what was your name and your relationship?
Donna Smith.
Donna Smith. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
All right. Anyone else in the room who wants to leave a comment, do a public comment? All right, let's go online. Macy, is there anyone online who would like to, who's raising their hand for a public comment on the EcoPass? All right, seeing none, we're going to bring it back to the board for discussion and a motion. They're increasing the money that they're going to give us, so. Or a thumbs up. Who wants to make a motion on this one? Go to your language. Should we get one of the new guys to do it?
I'll go for it.
Go for it.
I move to approve the Second Amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between the town of Nederland and Boulder County for the administration of the Nederland EcoPass program and authorize the town manager to execute the agreement.
Second.
Little eager there now, guys. Come on. All right, let's go.
We'll give it to the newer guy. Trustee Larson,
Yes.
Trustee Jocelyn,
Yes.
Trustee Kennedy,
Yes.
Mayor Sterling,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion's approved.
Fabulous. Let's go into action. Next action item, 6.2, code amendments for the Proposition 123 Affordable Housing Fast Track Compliance. And I believe our community planner, Brett Demir.
I'm online.
Yay. All
Hi.
right, take us away.
Hi, so this action item is for code amendments for Prop 123 Affordable Housing Fast Track Compliance. The ordinance before you is 890. This is to modify eligibility for affordable housing development variances and establish an expedited special review use process for qualifying affordable housing developments. In 2022, Colorado voters approved Prop 123, which established the State Affordable Housing Fund. Subsequently, they implemented legislation, created eligibility requirements for local governments seeking to access funds administered through the Colorado Department of Local Affairs. One of the requirements is that the adoption of an affordable housing fast track process, ensuring the qualifying projects receive a final local decisions within 90 calendar days of a complete application. Beginning in 2027, the town of Nederland must satisfy this requirement to remain eligible for Prop 123 funds. If the town does not adopt and implement a compliant fast track review process, we are ineligible to receive direct funding through Prop 123. Affordable housing projects within town's jurisdiction will also be ineligible to receive funding through State Affordable Housing Fund. While the adoption of fast track process is not a statewide zoning mandate, it is a condition eligibility for the state housing funds. So decisions made at the Planning Commission meeting, affordable housing variances. The Planning Commission indicated support for allowing variances for projects that include at least 50% of affordable housing units. Just to remind you, when we first adopted these variances, it was 100% affordable housing units. For our special review requirements, the Planning Commission expressed support for applying an expedited review timeline to our special review use application for qualifying affordable housing projects. Another thing the state brought up when reviewing was our planned unit development requirements. This topic is not going to be part of the amendment tonight for this ordinance. But the Planning Commission indicated interest in further discussing how we could expedite that process, as it has been a long process in the past. It may not meet that 90-day requirement, but we're going to look on how we can be more efficient with that process. So changes made after meeting with DOLA when we gave them our first ordinance. The ordinance now adds a revised definition of affordable housing in section 16-322 to align with code to the code to state law, including AMI thresholds for both rental and for sale housing, which was something we were missing. Fast track timeline clarifications. This draft now clarifies that the expedited review clock begins when town is issued or issues a written determination that the application is complete. With the completeness determined within 7 days of submittal from the applicant and final action required within 90 days. Applicability section added. A new section was added in 16-325.5 to identify which application types are subject to the expedited review for qualifying affordable housing projects and which the application types are exempt under state law. Broader expedited framework. This ordinance now establishes a broader expedited review process for qualifying affordable housing developments rather than creating an expedited special review timeline, while preserving existing notice, hearing, and substantive review standards unless expressed modified. Also, I just want to add real quick, I realize this PD is, or this AIM is a little bit more planning commission based, so I'll change that in the future because we kind of went through a couple renditions of this. So there was PUD language added to this. The revised draft referenced certain planning unit development amendments in the applicability section when they do not include zoning approval or subdivision of land. PUD approvals or amendments that include zoning approval or subdivision remain excluded from expedited review. Extensions and restart provisions, the draft now includes, which is this final draft here, the addressing town initiated and developer initiated extensions, material revisions that may require a new completeness review, and clarification that failure to meet timeline does not result in an automatic approval. So if something happens on the applicant's end, they need some kind of extension, something, it's not quite right. That doesn't fall on town that we didn't meet that 90 days. And that also doesn't automatically give them an approval. That is something DOLA recommended that we added to the draft, and we did. The Planning Commission recommended approval of this ordinance on April 22nd, 2026. I have some proposed motions in front of you, and if you have any questions, let Jennifer and I know.
Thanks, Britt. All
Yeah.
right, trustees, are there any questions, clarifying questions? Oh, hold on. We're not at public, sorry, we're not at public comment yet. That's okay. Trustees, any clarifying questions?
Are there any alternatives? I mean, this, you're saying that we need to adopt this, but in order to keep our access to both the DOLA and the Affordable Housing Fund funding, there's no other middle ground here, right?
There isn't, but I will say typically our application process has been falling within this 90-day range, if not even before that. A lot of the special reviews applications that I brought before you, and I'll be bringing forward one for you next month as well. They're all honestly hitting before that 90 days, so I have no concern with this. And I think since many towns are adopting this, this kind of sets an expectation across the board for any applicant or developer. And that's just an opinion, but no, there's not really any middle ground with this. But again, no concerns from staff that we can't meet these expectations.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other clarifying questions? All right, let's go ahead and move to public comments. So any public comments in the room who would like to comment on this topic, which is the fast track compliance for Proposition 123. So if you have any public comments, would you like to come up now? And then we'll move to online.
Yeah.
And again, just state your name and your relationship.
Donna
with him.
Smith, and I've lived in Netherlands for 37 years. And my problem with this fast track thing is that, we as town members, we're working, we don't have, suddenly we're finding out about this thing happening. And I do believe that we need affordable housing. I don't think it's but when all the people are coming up from Boulder rather than the people that are here already, that's disturbing. And it's also disturbing that we got to watch you guys like a hawk, because you're going to push it through in 3 months means we got to watch you every minute to see what things you're pushing through. And one of the things that I hear that you're trying to push through right now is right across from my house, there's a meadow between Radio Court and Lakeview Drive. And you guys are talking about putting something in there. And I just found out about that. And there's deer come through there, the moose come through, the fox, it's a wildlife corridor. It's a lifeline of sanity for me. My house, how much its worth goes down immediately with having something across the street instead of having wildlife across the street. The kids play there. My housemate goes over there and meditates every day, literally every day over there in those aspens. I mean, it's a huge loss to us to have that all of a sudden be built up into this big, huge, monstrous project. That's how we feel about it. And it's horrifying to me anyway. I moved up here to be close to wildlife, not close to a bunch of buildings being, and from what I've heard, a lot of these low-income housing places aren't even being kept up. I think Boulder County Housing needs to step up to the plate and start fixing some of these places. I've heard that Tungsten already has problems, that they just didn't use quality enough, materials, and things are falling apart already. I just think that need to be looked at a lot more closely than that. So
thank you. To clarify, just since you're here, the site feasibility that's happening right now, just so that you have all the full information, Town Manager Kane, can you just articulate like what stage that is there? Because there's no building going in. There's nothing being planned. It's actually a feasibility study that's happening.
That's correct. The Boulder County is a new affordable housing tax, and Boulder County Housing Authority was given $100,000 to study their property on Rodeo Court. The property adjacent owned by the town was included in the feasibility study for that, but the town is under no obligation or has no plans currently to develop that property. It's just looking at what may be possible. Planning Commission did talk about it last year, and one of the things they noted is to try to keep it wild. I think the idea would be to see if there's any opportunities just to work together with Boulder County Housing Authority. I think the model the commissioners are most interested in is a home ownership model similar to what's there already, just on the piece of the property that they have left. And maybe some senior housing, but we haven't even begun looking at anything yet. This is just a feasibility site work study to finalize some of the work the Board of Trustees was doing last year, looking at town-owned property and where affordable housing might fit. But in that process would be a significant amount of community and public engagement, and comments like you just made are definitely welcome and encouraged as a part of that process. So we make sure that that it goes correctly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I might add, when we had this fire, people were lined up on the road to get out and weren't able to get out. They were kept from getting out for quite a while, and then finally they were able to get out.
Yeah.
That by itself is like terrifying, even if I wasn't horrified by you taking away the beauty that I see every day that would make me incredibly sad to have go away. I mean, it would just break my heart, truthfully.
Thank you. Thank you for your public comment.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another public comment on the code amendments for Proposition 123. Yeah, if it's related to, if it's Proposition 123, yeah. No. Okay.
And it might
Any-
help if I just add this when public comment's done, if I could just make a comment to maybe clarify some things for the residents that are speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of like timeline of how long this has been before us.
Yeah, and
all
what
of
this is actually included for.
Yeah, no, that would be
Yeah.
great. Okay, let's
Okay.
go to online. If there's anyone who would like to make a public comment on the code amendments for Proposition 123 affordable housing fast track compliance, please raise your hand. All right, community planner Britt, go ahead and make your comment.
Yeah, so I did just want to put on there that typically, like for instance, Tungsten Village, I believe ended up coming as a PUD, so a planned unit development. That's not something that's going to happen within 90 days. That's something we're looking at being more efficient in, but typically some of these larger housing projects that you're seeing are not going to fall under this. This is really for building permit, special review, variances, that kind of thing going on. So your smaller projects, affordable projects, something that ends up triggering that planned unit development. So probably more than 4, if someone's doing, 10, 12, whatever. That is going to be a longer process. It still all has the same requirements by the state. We publicly notice it, letters go out. It goes to the Planning Commission and the Board of Trustees. So it is out there. And then anything I wanted to clarify that anything with Townland, as John was saying, there's a lot more that goes into those on public outreach and talking to the neighbors and anything like that. This is really just mainly talking about the private landowners that are wanting to do some of those smaller affordable housing projects.
Like a
So
backyard
there's like a
cottage.
trigger point there. And I'd be happy, Donna, if you wanted to come by my office to just kind of show you that and show you what that would look like, just to make that a little bit more tangible. I do want to make myself available if any residents have questions or kind of want to walk through this together, just to, have a little bit more time than we do here.
Thanks, Britt.
Yeah.
Okay, bringing it back to the trustees for discussion. Any last minute clarifying questions and or a motion? I'll start. This is probably my 3rd or 4th time seeing this from being a liaison onto the Planning Commission as well. It is coming into some of that state compliance. We had signed up for Proposition 123 back in 2023, I want to say, in order to produce more affordable units, because our housing study showed that we are at a deficit of about 122 affordable housing units. And that's just on the rental side, in order to keep pace with, even just to meet the demands today of the workforce. And so Proposition 123, we've just been staying close to it. We still have our obligation to permit those 13 units by the end of 2026. So for me, this is something that I'll be voting yes on, as so that we can continue to stay in compliance. And one of the things I really like about this one is we initially went very, I think, heavy-handed, and we said only allowing variances for 100% affordable housing units, and nothing really got built. And so hoping that we can relax that and allow variances for even if 50% of the units are affordable housing units. So that's me.
All I would say is that looking into it, it seems like there is overwhelming support for Prop 123 as well. I think like 66% of the county, if not the town. So seems like it's a good thing.
I move to approve ordinance number 890, amending Articles 13 and 3 of Chapter 16 of the Netherlands Municipal Code to modify eligibility for affordable housing development variances and establish an expedited special review use process for qualifying affordable housing developments.
Second.
Macy?
Trustee Larson,
Yes.
Trustee Kennedy,
Yes.
Trustee Jocelyn,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Miller,
Yes.
and Mayor Sterling.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion's approved.
All right. Great job, everyone. Let's go into 6.3, appointments to fill the BOT vacancies. Town Manager Kane, can you introduce this to us?
Yeah. I think Macy worked on this aim with Jennifer. Do you want to talk it through?
Yeah,
Okay.
happy to. All right, so going into the election on April 7th, our regular municipal election, there were 3 open trustee seats eligible. We only received 2 nomination petitions for the candidate of trustee. And so there was 1 vacancy going into that election. And then Mayor Sterling vacated her trustee seat to move into her mayor seat. So currently, there are 2 open vacancies on the Board of Trustees. And at our meeting on April 21st, the board gave direction to town staff to fill the vacancies through application and appointment process. So the staff released applications they were released on April 22nd, and the deadline to receive those applications was 5 p.m. on May 13th. By the May 13th deadline, we received applications from Billy Giblin, Nellie Motto, John Stevens, and Topher Donahue. On May 14th, we received an application from Jesse Sievers, and it's up to the board whether or not they will consider Mr. Sievers' application as part of the applicant pool as a late applicant. So the board tonight, you may decide to fill the vacancies by appointment, or you may also decide to call a special election or reopen the application period. The application process was open to all interested and qualified individuals through the stated deadline. And in making any appointments, the board may consider any factors it deems relevant, including qualifications, experience, and needs of the board. And if the board appoints the applicants, those individuals will take their oaths of office and begin serving on the Board of Trustees immediately. So the questions before you tonight are: how does the Board of Trustees wish to fill the trustee vacancies? Through appointment, special election, or reopening the application process? And then the second question before you this evening is: if the board elects to proceed with appointments, which applicants does the board wish to appoint to fill the vacancies for terms ending April 2028? They will serve until the next regular election.
Thank you, Macy. Real quick clarifying question for Town Attorney Madsen. Does Town Attorney Madsen, is there any legal reason that would prevent us from hearing Jesse Sievers' application because he was late?
No, you can definitely decide that if you want to, you can hear accept Mr. Sievers' application.
Okay. I'm going to propose a little
I
bit
have
of,
a clarifying question
Sure.
related to that before we jump into.
Yeah, go for it.
We've appointed people to this board a lot over the last, dozen years or so that I've been involved. Prior to this, deadlines have always been set and adhered to. And I'm curious why we're looking at changing that here in lieu of that. We set a deadline for good candidates applied. I mean, nothing to say against you, Jesse, good friends, but we've never before modified the deadline after the fact. And I'm curious about why we would be looking to do that now in what would be essentially unfair to the 4 candidates who did meet our criteria.
Well, okay, so and feel free for anyone else to pop in very quickly so that we can move forward. So there's no legal reason to not to at least hear if what the reason is from Mr. Sievers. There's no legal reason, Jennifer, to prevent us from doing that.
Correct. There's nothing in state law which requires your application period to be open for a limited set number of days. There's nothing in your municipal code which sets the number of days for an application period for an appointment process. So, if this was a deadline that you put in place, or I can't recall if it's a deadline actually that you put in place or that staff put in place. But it's a deadline that can be overlooked, I guess, for lack of a better word, if you choose to consider Mr. Seaver's application.
Okay, I see. I guess I'd be open to hear from the trustees if they're interested in hearing from Mr. Sievers, why he's applying, even if it was late. Is there any desire to do that?
No.
Okay. Andrew? I'd be a yes. I'm curious.
Yeah,
I think the deadline was put there so that we could get the information before the packet, was my understanding.
Yes. Yes.
And it looks like it made the packet.
Okay. So you,
I am curious why the past we haven't allowed look at late applications, but I understand if the deadline was set by town staff and it's in the packet. So
you're open.
I'm open to it.
Okay. I think we need one more.
yeah, I'm open.
You're open?
I'm open to it as well.
Okay. All right. So this is how the process will be. Thank you, trustees. So each candidate is going to come up and give their reasons for wanting to be on the board. I do believe we've got some folks online and as well as folks in the room. So you'll have some time. Try to be brief, but you have some time to explain why it is that you're wanting to run. We then have a set of questions for everyone, and each of us are going to take a turn in asking those questions. Trustees, if after a candidate gives an answer, you need some clarification, just sort of signal to me so I know, so that we can make sure that we pause and get that clarification from the candidate. After we've heard each of the candidates and asked them the questions, we will go to public comment. Public comment will be, we'll have a very strict 3 minutes on those public comments, just because we have so many candidates and we want to make sure that we get through all the public comments. So 3 minutes for the public comments, and then after we'll open it back to the board and have a discussion. And candidates, this was really weird when I first went for appointment. We will be discussing you in front of you. It's just kind of a weird thing. I just like to tip people off that that's coming and that's a thing. And I also just wanted to clarify real quick, the motions, if you saw them in your pocket, it's because there's a staggered term. One of them is for the 2-year term and one of them is for the 4-year term, and each is a separate resolution. So just want to make sure to point that out.
Can I just clarify on that, Mayor Sterling? Yeah. They're not 2 separate terms. Each of the candidate is appointed to fill the vacancy until the next regular election. So they're both 2-year terms.
Oh, fabulous.
And
Okay, gotcha.
the reason for two separate is, you could frankly decide to appoint one person and decide to go to a special election for a second person. It's just, it's to make your choice easier.
Got it. Okay. Well, then aren't all of you in like, isn't this better? Because I was telling folks, yeah, there's a 4-year term, but no, both are 2-year terms, correct? Just to clarify.
Yes.
Okay. And then as the clerk Macy had said, that we will then seat the open positions and actually take the oath tonight. Okay. So we will go in the order that we've got them listed here. So first up will be Billy Giblin. Come on down.
Looks familiar. How you doing? I'm Billy Giblin, and I would like to continue to work for the community on the Board of Trustees, and so I applied for appointment. I bring a lot to this town. I've been in town politics for 7.5 years, BZA, Planning Commission, BOT as the mayor, and I'm ready to keep working with you all. I definitely feel like if there was any, true mandate out of the election is that people like what we both bring to the table. So I want to be at that table. So, and I look forward to working with y'all.
Okay. So trustees, you have your questions in front of you. We'll go kind of in order that I've got them here in the list. So Matt, you want to start us off with your questions?
Here we go. Sorry. Billy, how would you describe your connection to the Ned community, and what do you feel makes Nederland a unique place?
Well, Netherland is a unique place in some ways because it hasn't been overrun and developed and gentrified, and somehow even being 16 miles away from Boulder, it continues to keep its personality pretty strong. And the history of, from natives to miners to, to ranchers to miners, artists, hippies, musicians, and, recreationalists now, and as well as great art and music community. There's just a lot about this town that keeps it unique. And, I don't know whether it's the wind or just dumb luck, but we've managed to maintain our character. And I think it's important that we do that and continue to do that, even as, things change in some ways. And then my connection to the town, I moved here about 10 years ago. And I've lived in similar communities for 30 years. Prior for 40 years, I've been out west here in Intermountain West communities primarily during that time. And I'm a dad. I've got a kid, a second-year-old, second-year-old and a sixth-year-old, second grader and a sixth grader. And my wife and we're living in Old Town, Old Home there. I have a lot of friends. I feel like being in my 60s myself and having an 8-year-old, I kind of have a wide spectrum of people I deal with regularly. So I kind of connect with a lot of people in this town in a lot of ways and a lot of different groups. And I feel like in that way, I'm a good, I have a good sense. I'm able to talk to a lot of people and listen to a lot of people. And that keeps me connected.
Great. Then my only other question is, could you describe a time when you've disagreed with someone on a team or in a professional setting, and how you might have worked through that to reach a productive outcome?
Yes. Trying to think whether work or just being on the BOT is better. I mean, at times I'd say I'll stick with the BOT. At times there have been friction with, another trustee or two. And, oftentimes I did well at communicating with the trustee. And sometimes I didn't, frankly. And when I didn't, it didn't get better. And when I did communicate, it did get better, so um, it's, in my work, I can think of an example where I had, was working with a guy who had trained me, but then there were frustrations between us, and it really, in that case, it was a matter of where we just did sit down and work through it and kind of work to better understand those things we didn't understand about each other and those issues we have with each other, and got through it. And I think that's happened for me on the BOT. And then, it hasn't happened every time with everyone on the BOT. So it's going to, it takes that effort. And, I've made that effort many times, and I've flawed a couple times and not made it and paid for it.
Andrew?
Billy, what is the town currently doing well, and how can the Board of Trustees further support those efforts?
I mean, the community side of this town is something it does well. I mean, I was at that, some of you, at least a couple of you were at that rock show at the spring musical at the school, and just seeing some of those kind of community events where so many people come together and we're just having fun and enjoying this case, kindergarten through fifth graders from 3 schools, just bringing together 3 communities and bringing together our one community, and seeing people that don't always get along up there dancing and enjoying each other. And then, silent disco the other night, running into, so some of these that was the same thing, just kind of happened to go there, and great community event. People, all kinds of folks were there, from kids to adults, and it was just great to see people together. I think we can really come together as a community. The summer concert series has been another thing that's been good for us to do. I think the ski area pursuit has been a good thing for the community to do, even though the community hasn't been able to have much involvement. I think it's a good thing for us to be doing, and I think better integrating the ski area with the community is something that I watched other communities like Winter Park and Telluride and Crusted Butte flail, and just have these us versus them, and just a lot of wasted energy and money. And I think, yeah, I'm real optimistic about where that effort can go.
How do you view the role of trustee, specifically chain of command and interaction with town employees and the town administrator?
I think, respecting the employees and the different roles that they have and the jobs that they do. I definitely learned on the planning commission and BZA, working at those times with Cynthia and Karen, and then Cynthia and Miranda. Just a lot of competence, and and then later, well, that was those boards, and then on the BOT with Miranda and staff, and then Jonathan and staff. Like, one thing Miranda helped us learn was, like, when we have specific requests of staff, they have to go through the town administrator, and I'm a huge fan of that happening. I think it's important for us to build a good rapport with town staff, and to support town staff, and to make it clear we believe in them, and also to support Jonathan is the person who is, hires and fires and trains and develops and works with, and has personal friendships with his own staff. So I mean, I do think we've got a great staff. It helped with a combination of raising pay scales, which Tom was part of too, and raising pay scales, and then Miranda's kind of hiring green strategy allowed us to kind of build this team that's pretty cohesive and pretty strong. And I think there's all in all, a really good culture in this town staff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Luke?
Hi, Billy.
Nope.
All right, we got, this is a sort of silly question for you, but what, if any, is your past experience in municipal government?
Turns out it's all been here at Nederland, Colorado. I don't even know that I think I've spoken at town meetings prior to being on the town here, and in other towns like Winter Park. I might have in southern Utah. but my experience in town government has been since 2018 to 2022 in the BZA for our occasional meetings over 4 years. And then 2020, when 2020, 22 to 2022 on the planning commission. That was pretty amazing. It was a bummer. It was mostly remote. We had one live meeting at the very end, right before I was sworn in as mayor, where I got to go to one live meeting with the PC. The others had all been remote because of COVID. And then coming in with the BOT since September of election was in August, sworn in September of 2022 until about a month ago.
All righty. And what do you feel like is your biggest strength that you would bring to the board?
Ability to build rapport and ability in connections with people in the community and also people outside the community. I've created good relationships, with Joe and the Goose, with our commissioners, primarily Ashley and Claire, but to a lesser degree Marta, and some of the neighboring mayors, and also people that live in the other communities. I have a lot of relationships with people who live in our greater community, not just in town, but I was talking to someone today how, the reality is that we really do serve and make a lot of decisions that affect our greater community, and it's, it is what it is. About only community members can be on the BOT, but I feel like I have a lot of those solid relationships, and I bring some humor, I think, too.
Thank you.
Which of the many challenges or opportunities facing Nederland inspired you to apply for this position or come back to this position? And how do you hope to affect that as a trustee during your term?
Well, water has been something that's been a real big deal for me. Our water rights, it's existential, and I've been lucky and fortunate to work with, town, with trustees, with Miranda, with Jonathan, with Aaron Ladd and Rachel, our lawyers, and with our water engineers, and that to me it's been extremely interesting learning about water, and the ski area acquisition and transition. It's exciting to be part of that, and finish, getting through Big Springs egress. It's come a long way. It's got just to get over the finish line. So being part of seeing that through, and also definitely affordable housing. I mean, I have a lot of friends here who are renters and, and struggle, to even do that, and have friends who've left because they can't afford to live here. And so the affordable housing thing is a real big deal for me. I work in the housing industry, my day job, but affordable housing is a huge problem everywhere, not just here, but that's a big motivator here. And also just national politics are just so stressful and crazy, and world politics, and it's just acting locally is kind of what we can do.
Thanks, Chris. What could the town do differently, and what steps could the Board of Trustees do from a policy perspective to make that happen?
I think, I feel like we are digging ourselves out of, I said this at the forum, but out of a hole of kind of, I think, reasonable like distrust and primarily distrust, like where folks just don't feel like they have a voice. And a lot of people keep saying that, and I think they really feel that way. I know we have public comment, we take emails. I thought that I was, available and approachable, and I think I am, and promoting public engagement, but I feel like that's somewhere we do fall short and have a lot of work to do. And I think more of it's going to be outreach. I don't know if people will come to us. On some level, we may have to go to them, and feel and being kind to people when they do have the brave, are brave or whatever, or decides to write us an email or come talk with us, like treating them with respect, even when they don't like what we have to say, and hearing what they say. Obviously, we can't do everything everyone wants because a lot of things are contradictory, but we can definitely, engagement's huge, I think. And I think also something someone said to me, we also need to kind of point out what we are doing well more often. I think that also goes sometimes without being seen, and I don't want to do it in a way to like distract people or like blow smoke up people, blow smoke. But I think we are doing a lot more than it sometimes seems, and our town staff are doing everything they can often.
All right, thanks. Trustees, if you're okay, I'm going to strike the last question just for sake of time. Any strong feelings about that? Okay. All right. Thank you,
Sorry.
Billy.
I talked a lot. Thanks.
Thanks. Yep, we got through the first candidate and we already had to shave off some stuff, so no problem. All right, next up is Nelly Mahato. Did I, Mato? Okay, thank you. Mato. Mato. I'll get it. Nelly Mato. All right, so go ahead and start us off with why you're running, and then we'll go
Alright.
through our questions.
I am running because I am a woman minority. Sorry. I am running because I am a woman minority. I feel that a lot of business issues are being pushed through, and I don't think that the non-involvement of public in business proposals such as Eldora are okay. I'm curious about incorporation and exploring it for the town of Netherland. I am wanting people in office that aren't afraid of the public, specifically town staff. Nederland needs to be affordable. I've lived in Ned for 5 years, going on 6. We bought a house here because we wanted to retire here. The town government has made me go back to school because of the abuse of the rights that John Kane has done to me. Miss Madsen. I'm currently considering a lawsuit on the town of Nederland because of how I've been treated. I think that the town staff are not fair to every community member. I think many staff are scared of people, and that's not okay. If you are in a community, if you are in a public office, you need to be approachable. You need to be not afraid of people. You can't call the cops every time you don't hear what you want to hear, because that's not okay. That's abuse. And I also feel the buddy system isn't working anymore. The buddy system of appointing our friends. If it has to go to a special election, I think it should go to a special election. And that's why I'm here.
All right, Nelly, we're going to go through our list of questions with you. Matt, can you start us off?
Sure thing. Thanks for coming, Nelly. How would you describe your connection to the Ned community, and what do you feel makes Nederland a unique place?
Nederland is absolutely beautiful. It is, when I first came, I envisioned a welcoming community. As years have gone on, I suppose the first couple of years it was welcoming. But as we have requested things for our property, as far as Cora reports, the maintenance of Cora reports we found are not well kept. Other than that, other than the town, I think that there's a lot of potential here. There is. I mean, look at it. You know, coming up here every single day, driving through the mountains, it's beautiful here. And there's no other place like it, you know? Even my home, I lived in North Dakota for 45 years. It was flat. It was so flat. And here it is just absolutely beautiful. Most people are welcoming, say that. So. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, great.
I don't think there's any wrong answers. You're good.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I think we all agree it's a wonderfully beautiful place. Can you describe a time when you disagreed with someone on a team or in a professional setting and how you worked through it to reach a productive outcome?
Recently, John Keane and Miss Matson had called the police on us because we were requesting 4 reports at the town hall office. We ended up implementing a lawyer because I ended up getting charged with disorderly conduct or something like that, or harassment or something, which all got dismissed because there was no relevant reason to be charging me with anything. So that's how that ended.
Andrew.
Ellie, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
What is the town currently doing well, and how can the Board of Trustees further support those efforts?
As far as the town, what it's doing well. I've got a lot of negative to say about you guys right now. I'm having trouble finding something. And that's my honest answer.
That's okay. We can go.
That's okay. No wrong answers. Ellie, how do you view the role of trustee, specifically chain of command and interaction with town employees and the town administrator?
I think that there needs to be respect on all ends with everybody. And everybody needs to be viewing people as people and treat them as human beings. And I think that that would be a great step forward in a lot of things that we're doing as a business, because this is a business. You know?
Sorry, hold on. We're going to mute you online. All right, keep going.
I see Netherland as a business, and it has a lot of potential to grow. So
Thank you.
I don't remember the question.
That's okay. I can restate it
I'm going
for
to be
you.
honest.
No,
okay?
no, that's fine. Yeah. So how do you view the role of trustee, specifically chain of command and interaction with town employees and the town administrator?
The respect aspect.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think communication is key. Talking to each other, knowing what's up, doing your homework, doing my own homework in regards to what's going on in town. So that's what I think.
Thanks, Ellie.
Luke?
And Ellie, thanks for being here. What, if any, is your past experience in municipal government, whether in Netherlands or elsewhere?
I have no experience. I am currently going to school though. Okay, you guys made me go back to school. And I am going for my paralegal degree. I am 35 credits in on a 60 credit program, and I have a 3.5 GPA. I love law. I love law. It's awesome. So
It's great.
yeah.
And then what do you feel like is your biggest strength that you would bring to the board?
I'm fresh out of Colorado revised statutes of what the board goes through and is using for our motions, etc.
Yeah,
I have the book.
That's excellent.
Cost $250. So
Thank you.
Chris?
I feel like you may have answered this already, but we're supposed to ask the question same, so I will ask you as well. Which of the many challenges Netherlands or opportunities Netherlands is facing prompted you to apply for this position, and how do you hope to address that during your term?
The two things that prompted me to run are One was the Eldora acquisition and the non-voting of it. I understand that there were bonds and stuff, but that's still our tax money. And we should still be having things accountable as far as that being in the budget and being descriptive of such budget. I believe, like, I was looking at the agenda before I came, and I had noticed that our general fund budget and the budget itself, in the explanations, that there's not enough explanation. I believe there needs to be more detail in how we keep records. The core reports should be available to residents that ask for them. In a recent, I had asked for some core reports on some culverts that were draining into our yard, that were washing out our culvert, our leach field. And when I asked for the core, they said that there was none. That's basic. We need to get back on track and start reporting things and being accountable. Was there the core and the Eldora? I think that was it.
What could the town do differently, and what steps could the Board of Trustees do from a policy perspective to make that happen?
I suppose there would be things that we would need to create motions for. To, I don't know if Eldora can ever go backwards, but I think that there needs to be more accountability as far as in the budget, in the, I know, like, later on, you guys are supposed to talk about the sustainability and stuff like that. And where the time is going to go for what the board is going to do for the time period of 26 to 28. And I think that adding Eldora into that, there's something about, I have it in my notes, but I'll talk about that when that comes up. But there's things that we can do different. There's things that we can go as far as, like, with the revised statutes that we can implement. I don't know. I haven't really looked at all the laws, because there's a lot of laws there that we have passed, and a lot of things that we have gone through as a community. So it depends, you know, but there's ways to do stuff. There's ways to get things done. So.
All right. Well, thank you. That's
Thank
all
you.
the questions. All right. And next up, I think you know this gentleman, John Stevens. Is he familiar to you? Hi, John. Welcome.
Hello, I'm John Stevens. I'm running, well, I applied for the board this time instead of running for it. I've been on boards in North Dakota. I was on a Head Start parental committee for over 4 years. I was at the state level in the parental committee for almost 2 years. We were trying to navigate COVID. That wasn't. So what would I bring to the Board of Trustees? Well, first off, there's a word in that, trust. And I feel that the people in Nederland are starting to lose their trust in our town. From small things to larger things, to things that get pushed off to the side that should be at the forefront. One of the things is infrastructure. There's a whole side of town that don't have sewer. And if you live on the south side of the lake, cell phone service is spotty. I mean, you walk around a tree and you lose signal. We could use another tower on the north side of the lake for those people that live on the south side that the mountain gets in the way.
All right, we'll start asking some questions. Matt, start us off.
Thanks for coming, John. How would you describe your connection to the net community? And what do you feel makes Netherland a unique place?
Pardon? The last part?
What do you feel makes Netherland a unique place?
Well, I live beside the lake. That in itself makes it a unique place. And then to look across the lake and see all the mountain peaks, that's just beautiful. But one thing about Netherland is it's so unique is all the opportunities up here. You have hunting, fishing, hiking, biking, mountain climbing, rock climbing, you know, all them good things. And I think the town should try and embrace them. You know, the town wants to make money. Well, in order for the town to make money, we got to be able to bring something in to make money. And the ski resort, with that, I'm afraid down the road something's going to come back to bite us. Whether I was reading about tapping an emergency fund, which I think is probably unethical, but because you're already tapping into the funds that are set aside for the people of Netherland. And being on the board, I'm going to be accountable to those people. And so the people that I'm accountable to are going to expect me to make other people accountable. So that is one of the reasons why I'm also applying for the board.
Thanks. And can you describe a time when you disagreed with someone on a team or in a professional setting and how you worked through it to reach a productive outcome?
Well, usually if there's a moment or two to cool off, you can usually reach compromise. But in the heat of a moment, a lot of people get hot-headed and stuff. And usually if you step back a minute, think about it, you can come back with a better, cooler thought. And I've had that happen when I was on the state board. And I've had that happen when I was on the Head Start board. Or disagreement over an employee or disagreement over a sanitation technique. You know, either way, it, you know, step back, come at it from a different angle and maybe reach a compromise.
Okay. Andrew?
Thanks for being here, John. What is the town currently doing well, and how can the Board of Trustees further support those efforts?
Well, what the town is doing well is there's areas all over town that could use improvement. And I'd like to be a part of helping to improve that. Because whether it's like Nellie was saying, keeping accurate reports down to the thing of, you know, when you're doing an expense list, I was a maintenance manager at one time. When you do an expense list, you itemize what your expenses for. You don't write miscellaneous tools for $500. People are going to go, what did they buy? you know, and things like that. Stuff needs to be, not miscellaneous. It needs to be itemized and accountability. Now, if you bought a crescent wrench for $15, right now, crescent wrench, $15, put it in your inventory. Things like that. And that could go across all departments. Because and at the bottom line is, are in charge of all these taxpayers' money. And they want to know where it goes.
Thanks. How do you view the role of trustee, specifically chain of command and interaction with town employees and the town administrator?
Well, with chain of command, it's, mayor and then probably seniority throughout the board. And with the board, they oversee the staff and the administration, not the other way around. So if somebody in staff isn't doing up to snuff, they got to go, It's, it's business. You got to run the town like business. Only thing is, it's not your business. It's public's. And with staff and that, they're staff, they got a job to do. Whether it's the janitor or if it's the head of a department, they all have a job to do. And if they're out of line, it's up to the board to take care of it, not an individual.
All right, Luke.
Hi, John. Good to see you again. You've already answered this one, so you can add anything if you want to, but your past experience in municipal government, anything you want to add besides the
Well, I
stuff
guess
in North Dakota?
I was on student council back in the day. But
Hey, not
That's a
everyone
good
did
one.
that.
Yeah. I
50
should have brought
years
that up.
ago.
And then the other one is, what do you feel like is your biggest strength that you bring to the board?
I have over 25 years of construction and management experience, basically in maintenance. I had my own contracting firm, and I'm retired now, so I can devote my time to other things.
We hope to be like you one day.
No, you don't.
No, well, I mean, retire.
Your body will tell you differently.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right, Chris.
Thanks for coming out again tonight, John. Again, which of the many challenges or opportunities facing Ned inspired you to apply for this position? How would you seek to address that during your term?
Well, one of the things that's challenging facing Ned is, and I've been on this since I ran last time, and that is the infrastructure. That whole south side, that's a shattered mountain. All them drain fields going somewhere, And my guess is the lake eventually.
You're saying the drain fields on the south side of the reservoir?
Yeah,
Oh,
all the homes that have septic, because there is no sewer over there. And the other thing is like I said, with infrastructure, there's a lot of things that could be updated a bit throughout town, infrastructurally. And
Thank you.
another thing I'd like to say is all the vacant properties that are around town could be fire mitigated before it causes a problem. If we could get volunteers and put it in a community wood bank or something, that would be another thing, especially with as dry and as, prevalent as wildfires have been.
And the last question is, what could the town do differently, and what steps could the Board of Trustees do from a policy perspective to make that happen?
I think one thing is that we should possibly do is be beyond having the BOT meetings, is maybe have a town hall here and there. Get the community input. We got to find a way that we can reach everybody in the community, because Facebook and that, not everybody, has it. Older people, sometimes they don't know how to navigate it. We need something, maybe in the Mountaineer, that type of thing.
All right, thanks, John. All right, next up, Topher. Oh. Topher, are you online?
Yeah, I'm here remotely. Can you hear me?
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll get started and have you just introduce yourself and explain why you're running.
Okay, my name is Topher Donahue. I am calling in from Princeton, New Jersey, where I'm helping my son move out after his first year in college here. And that's also why I'm running, largely is because I served on the BOT earlier when my kids were young, raised my family in Nederland, and they're out of the house now, and I feel like I could help out.
Oh, okay, great. Matt, start us off.
Hi, Topher. Thanks for showing up. How would you describe your connection to the NED community? Kind of just did that, but what do you feel makes Nederland a unique place?
Well, both related. Ended up raising my family here. I grew up over by Allens Park. Unlike many people, I think I moved into town to move to Nederland, where I think a lot of people thought they were moving out, or they were moving out farther away from town. And raised my family here. And I feel like it offers a really unique situation where we have a mountain access, also have an urban relationship so my kids were able to go to operas and play in orchestras, and also have a little ski area 10 minutes away. And the combination of that is really unique, and it's also still a relatively livable community to other sort of resort or destination towns in the state. Did I answer the question, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Like we said, no wrong answers.
Yeah.
Can you describe a time when you've disagreed with someone on a team or in a professional setting, and how you worked through it to reach a productive outcome?
Well, during my first time on the Nederland BOT, we definitely had disagreements on things. We did some pretty significant projects like the wastewater treatment plant and the town shop and 2nd Street rebuild. And I mean, there are probably things that all of us would like to have done differently, but I think they all worked out. 2nd Street hasn't flooded. The town shop seems to be working. The wastewater treatment plant is a huge improvement. We're not at risk of dumping sewage into the lake anymore and being fined for that. To deal with the differences, I think we had experts who helped us. We had just the democratic process of just the voting on issues. And I think that within that, we were able to come to something that was maybe not everyone's ideal, but where we reached something that was realistic and attainable for us to achieve.
All right, Andrew.
Topher, thanks for being here. What is the town currently doing well, and how can the Board of Trustees further support those efforts?
Well, living in town and being out, walking around and shopping pretty much every day, I think I've really enjoyed seeing the work that the town is doing to just keep the place nice compared to when I moved here 23 years ago or whatever it was. you know, the area around Chipeta Park, there's little benches, and the trash system is better. The way they're taking care of the little spaces, the sort of natural areas, little flower gardens that have been put in. I think the aesthetics in town have improved. I mean, it's fairly minor, but it does make being in town a lot nicer. I think that the ski area thing is, you know, we're down the road a little ways with it. I don't feel like I can change the history there, so I want to help just move forward the best as I can. But I think for town to try something like that when the ski area model otherwise in the state is sort of this, you know, big hedge funds supported ski area conglomerates come in and buy little ski areas and use them as best they can, and then sell them off to the next highest bidder. I'm proud of town for trying. You know, whether it works or not, we're still yet to be seen. But I think that the effort is admirable, and I hope that we can make it in a way that it's good for town. So I appreciate that, and I say things like some of the, you know, as scrappy as town still is, and a lot of us like Nederland partly because it's scrappy, but I think that some of the infrastructure problems that were here when I first moved into town are much improved. So despite that there is more room for more improvement, we have been moving forward, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you. So for how do you view the role of trustee, specifically chain of command and interaction with town employees and the town administrator?
It seems to me our biggest role is probably sort of deciding budgetary elements between the town's taxpayer money that's being put into the town and then the staff going about using that money. So we sort of provide the guidance there. But I think that is I guess we're between the townspeople and the town staff is, I guess, how I see us. And as far as the board itself goes, from a voting standpoint, we all get one vote. So we're all equal there. And the mayor does more to help manage the meetings, but otherwise their vote counts the same as mine would as my first night on the job.
Thank you.
Chris, sorry, Luke.
Hi, Dover. Thanks for being here. This you've already touched on, but if you want to add anything else, what, if any, is your past experience in municipal government?
So 4 years on the town board, 2014 to 18, I guess it was. And I was the liaison to the planning commission and to the EcoPass board.
Cool. And then what do you feel like is your biggest strength that you would bring to the board?
Well, I have my own opinions of myself, but I think from my experience with the board, I would say what I probably did best was to help us stay on the main key crux of the decision we were trying to make or the problem we were trying to solve. I'm a professional writer and journalist, and sort of so keeping to the point of what we're trying to do was probably the thing that I would say I did best compared to what I had to offer. And like I say, I think there's things I would have done differently, and I think I could do, you know, a little better with my role, having done it before, for sure.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Chris.
Good to see you again, Topher. Which of the many challenges or opportunities facing Ned inspired you to apply for the board yet again? And how do you hope to address that during your term?
Well, I must admit I'm not up on all of the nitty-gritty details of what we'll be dealing with. The things I'm aware of as far as the kind of hot topics is, of course, the ski area. And I feel like I could help with that by providing a perspective coming from Estes Park, where I grew up, and my ski area there was Hidden Valley. The last year it was open was 1990, which is my senior year of high school. And I watched what happened to the town of Estes Park after the ski area closed. And it really changed from a place where kids had a had a recreational core center to go to, and where families could be, and where we spent time together outside of the schools. And after that, it became a full-on tourist town. It always was a tourist town, but it had this core local recreational component to it. That when that was pulled out, it changed completely. And so I'm really inspired to help, to whatever form it takes, to help the recreational, local recreation to thrive and have a real relationship with the town. And so that's probably my biggest thing I would like to help with moving forward on wherever that is at the moment into the future.
Thanks, Topher.
And I
right,
guess there's
last-
another thing, sorry, one other thing on that is I feel like just having kind of the lifetime. I mean, I was born in the Boulder County foothills. I've lived here for 54 years now, and the water situation, the forest fire situation, and I just I want to help to keep our focus on those things and trying to make good decisions. And again, like things we could have done better, like some of the fire treatments that happened in the Forsyth treatments, like as we can see now, they're ready to burn again. And so I think there's things we can do better. I don't know what the latest and greatest is, but I think we need to raise the bar in terms of how we deal with our changing climate.
Macy. Or Topher, can you talk? Do we still have you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay. Yep. Fabulous. We just our computer went to sleep, so we can't see you. So we're going to keep going.
Okay. Okay. Yep.
What could the town do differently, and what steps could the Board of Trustees do from a policy perspective to make that happen?
From a policy perspective, well, I don't know enough about the ski area situation to comment on that. And from the point of view of water and fire, I think that it could be represented in building codes, which we can certainly influence in terms of water consumption and fire, but that is certainly already pretty well managed pretty conservatively through Boulder County. But we could potentially increase that somewhat, and we could certainly implement policy to do more outreach to people. You guys still got me there? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. There must be an issue. Let me see. I'm going to text John.
I'll text him.
It looks like they're frozen in the room.
I just texted him and Macy. I think the camera froze or their internet.
Luke just said they're restarting the computer. He just sent me a
Okay.
text.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
can.
can.
Yeah.
Okay, we lost you in the room. So we're reconnecting and we'll be with you again shortly. Sorry about that.
Topher? Topher,
Yeah.
can you hear us now?
I hear you.
Okay,
We have the
fabulous.
board. Can the board hear me?
Yep,
Yes.
we're back.
We are back in business now.
Okay. Sorry about that. Sorry about the remote connection here.
Oh, no, I think it was us. But go ahead if you wanted to go ahead and finish that last question.
How far did you hear what I said?
We heard you at building code.
Okay, so, the building code probably is something we should keep an eye on to see if there's an opportunity for improvement or specifically to Nederland. But I think that the bigger thing would be more policy around around outreach to when people move into town, to potentially give them more information about the increasing fire hazard. I know for my own home that we've changed a lot of things because of it, and there's building codes that we are allowed to do that we've done. We've gone beyond that in order to like use non-wood siding and things like that. I mean, I don't want to force people to not have wood siding, but we need to educate about the increase of the risk of fire and the water consumption elements. You know, it's a pretty good town that way. But I think that is particularly coming up this summer. We might want to take, I mean, typically with this municipal stuff, we take a long-term look on these things, but I wonder if we shouldn't ratchet it up and make like some fairly urgent changes in terms of our community outreach to try to prepare a little more for what may happen this summer.
All right. Great. Thanks, Topher. That's all of our questions.
Okay.
All right. Last, Jesse, come on up.
Mayor Sterling, Board of Trustees, thank you for considering my application. Before anything else, I'd like to acknowledge that I did apply late, and I apologize for that. I'm not going to waste your time with any excuses, and just want to tell you that what I'm offering here is 16 years of history living in Netherlands and 11 years of running a heavy civil construction company here in Netherlands and raising my family here, and a strong desire to serve the town. My name is Jesse Sievers. My wife, Angela, and I are raising our two young daughters and sending them to our local schools here. I own and operate High Performance Earthworks. It's a Netherlands-based excavation and civil development company here. I hold a master's degree in environmental leadership, and I've served on the Sustainability Advisory Board, the Parks and Rec and Open Space Board, the Planning Commission, and the Board of Trustees. Looking at tonight's strategic planning packet, the next 2 years are definitely are defined by infrastructure decisions: Eldora annexation, Big Springs egress, utility rates and capital planning, Wolf Tongue area review, in-town trails, sidewalks, and accessibility connections. The roundabout at 119 and Highway 72, the Eldora Road Gateway, all while the general fund tightens from 900,000 to 500,000 and change. And that's my technical lane. I move dirt, I manage drainage, I build civil infrastructure for a living, and I already work alongside Netherlands utilities, streets, and parks crews. I'm not coming to this seat to learn what capital projects are. I bid them, I build them, I work on them every day. I see where the costs and risks are, and I also own and operate on property in the Wolf Tongue industrial zone. And so I have a direct stake in getting that area review correct. What I'd add to this board is hands-on infrastructure depth at the moment the town needs it. A sustainability lens shaped by my graduate work, a long parent and business owner stake in getting the next 2 years right, and I'd be honored to serve you. Thank you.
All right, last go round, Matt.
Thanks for coming, Jesse. Yeah, again, it sounds like you went through a lot of this question, but if there's anything you want to add to it, how would you describe your connection to the Ned community? And what do you feel makes Netherlands a unique place?
Yeah, I love Netherlands. I grew up in a small rural town in Silver City, New Mexico, actually Pinos Altos, New Mexico, where the Tour of the Gila is hosted. And it's a really strong community, a really great community. And for the first 10 years of living here in Netherlands, I was always holding it next to Silver City and feeling like it wasn't good enough for my standards. And so the last 5 years, I kind of turned a corner because I would tell my family, hey, let's move back to Silver City because, you know, I miss all my people there. And my oldest daughter would just totally veto that and, you know, say that she would run away if we tried to do that. And so we haven't. And yeah, for the last 5 years, it's really just kind of taken a shift for me. And, you know, I've really just kind of fell in love with this place and feel like it's home. And yeah, I couldn't be happier. And I every time I travel with my family, we come back and as a family, we talk about what a great town this is and how we don't necessarily want to leave.
Great. And can you describe a time when you disagreed with someone on a team or in a professional setting and how you worked through it to reach a productive outcome?
Well, you know, one of the things that I appreciate about the BOT and the way I've disagreed with people on the BOT when I was serving, and all the town boards that I've served on as well, is that we take a vote and we move on and we work together. We vote, we make a decision together, and we trust the process and we trust the vote. And we sort of have a really constructive way of disagreeing and taking a vote and making a decision as a group and moving forward.
Great. Andrew.
Jesse, thanks for being here. And what is the town currently doing well, and how can the Board of Trustees further support those efforts?
I'm really proud of the town staff, the Public Works Department in particular. Josh Davis is doing a phenomenal job in the streets for all everything that I've been able to see and view and look at his work. And you know, Andrew Bliss as well. I've worked closely with him on projects, and I feel like he's doing a phenomenal job with his leadership and guidance there in the utilities, the water and sewer department. And also Nikki Dunn with the parks. I feel like those three department heads are doing a phenomenal job at leading their teams in a way that is, you know, the teams have a lot of pride in what they're doing. And also, I think Jonathan Kane's doing a good job as well. You know, he's been communicative, and he's been able to give me good feedback on projects that I'm trying to move forward in the industrial zone with 19 Wolf Tongue Court. And also Britt is doing a great job. So yeah, I mean, I feel like it's really amazing. I feel like the staff now is doing better than I've ever seen in the 16 years that I've lived here. And it's really heartening and inspiring to see it and to just be a community member here.
How do you view the role of trustee, specifically chain of command and interaction with town employees and the town administrator?
So I see the role of the mayor is kind of being the one to, you know, set the agenda, kind of be a cultural leader, so to speak, kind of hold the decorum at the meetings and to, you know, kind of help us remember that we're all on the same team, and, you know, hopefully pulling in the same direction towards the betterment of our town. And then the trustees, I feel, are, you know, team members to make good decisions, to air divergent points of view, to argue as skillfully as possible while being constructive, and ultimately to vote and make a decision and move forward. And then as a group and as a team, the Board of Trustees are really there to provide guidance and feedback and structure to John Kane as the town manager, and to review John's work, and then John's job is to run his staff.
Thanks, Jesse.
All right, Luke.
Well, again, you've already sort of answered these in your past experience, but if there's anything you want to add about your past experience on the town boards, or if you have anything else outside of town you want to talk about in terms of municipal service.
No, I've enjoyed working as a volunteer in an advisory capacity and as a decision-making capacity in the BOT, and the advisory boards have been great experiences for me as well. And I appreciate that Topher had some past experience. Billy's been on the board before. Chris, you've been on the board and off. And it was really good for me to be on the board and then take a break. And now I feel mostly inspired to work with you all. And the projects that are coming down are inspiring to me. And then just the phenomenal performance of the staff is also inspiring to me. So that's why I put my hat forward, or put my hat in the ring. And if I don't get appointed today, that's really fine by me. I've really been enjoying my non-BOT time, and so, and I just want to ensure that we have good leadership in place, and I feel that we have some really great candidates today. And so, I know all of you personally, and please, I will not be offended if you select other candidates today. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And then again, you've kind of touched on this really well, but any particular single strength you feel like you would bring as a new trustee, returning trustee?
Well, primarily it's really the experience in the heavy civil construction work, and as I sort of read in my statement, just working closely with the utilities departments. I've trained them on operating skills. Like I really advocated for helping us to upgrade their equipment when I was on the BOT last time, and I just love working with those guys and seeing them out there and gals, and that's my primary strength. I feel like I'm bringing to the table right now.
Awesome, thank you so much.
All right, Chris.
Last time, which of the many challenges or opportunities that are facing Ned inspired you to jump back into the fray and apply again? And how would you hope to address that during your term?
Well, there's several. I would say first and foremost would be the multimodal plan. As I believe you all know, I'm most passionate about riding my bike, and I would love to see more bike terrain here in Nederland. And I know we have great terrain now, especially for the gravel riders amongst us, Chris. And gravel is awesome. So, and Luke will give you a run for the money on the gravel. But yes, I'd like to see more in-town trails. The town sent me to Bentonville along with Nikki Dunn when I was on the board. And, Tanya really held my feet to the fire and said, hey, if you don't have any projects, in 5 years or in a year, I think what she said, after we're spending this money to send you to Bentonville and learn about how they're integrating trails into the town, then I'm going to be really upset. And I'm going to wish I didn't vote to send you there. And so we've done some things. I've done some things with the bike park downtown on Ron Mitchell's lot. And, I've tried to work. I have worked a bit with Nikki and Jonathan on and the ProSab on getting that Rinkling Trail at least promoted. And, Nikki did the work. But the multimodal plan is the answer.
All right, last question. What could the town do differently, and what steps could the Board of Trustees do from a policy perspective to make that happen?
Could you repeat the question?
What could the town do differently, and what steps could the Board of Trustees do from a policy perspective to make that happen?
Well, when I was on the board last time, the thing that was really hot in my mind was neighborly disputes. And I feel like that's kind of blown over to a degree since then. So I don't know that this is as relevant now, but this is the one example that I can think of to answer your question. And that is, I was promoting a good neighbor policy. because I noticed that a lot of our code, or at least some of our code, has been created as a effort to resolve a dispute between neighbors. And I think that's a bad way to create policy. And I think we have a little bit more policy than we need, and more rules and regulation than we need. And what I would like to see more of is neighbors working it out, and support for that process. You know, we do have the Boulder County Sheriff's Department that has the worker who can work with people on a more kind of human level.
Mediator?
Yeah, it's a mediator, but there's another, and I don't know if we still have that person anymore, but when we first signed up for the Boulder County Sheriff Services.
Our co-responder?
Yeah, the co-responder. That is a great addition, and I would love to see that fleshed out a little bit so that we could direct neighbors who are arguing with each other towards that as a service for mediation before either stepping in with code enforcement or trying to resolve it by coming up with a new regulation or ordinance.
Anything else? Sorry, looked like you were about to speak.
Oh no, I could go on, but I'll
Okay.
just wrap it up. I don't think I have anything else.
Okay, well, that's all the questions we have for you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, Jesse. All right, folks, so now we are at the time for public comment. So if you would like to make a public comment on this appointee process and our candidates who have already spoken, you can do that now. You'd be limited to 3 minutes. So I'll go first in the room if there's anybody who wants to speak, and then I'll go online. All right, I see the first hand raised. Please come to the podium, state your name and your relationship to town.
Good evening. My name's Cameron Beebe. I own a lot in town and co-own down on Wolf Tongue. And I'm here to support Jesse. I'll keep it brief, but I worked for him. I find him intelligent and motivated and enthusiastic. And he's a builder. And I think that's the direction that we need right now. So let's keep it brief. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Cameron. Anyone else in the room who would like to provide a public comment? Anyone in the room? All right, we're going to pass and go online. Macy, can you let us know if there's anyone online who has a public comment? Okay, Teresa, you can come off mute and start speaking, please.
All right. Did it unmute? Great.
Yep,
Can you guys
we
hear
can
me
hear ya.
okay? Hi
Yep.
there, Teresa Robertson, 140 East First Street. First of all, I'm a little appalled that there are 4 people who could have run and everyone could have decided. I think I'm very disappointed about that, first of all. So I would love to support Billy. I came on late. Topher sounded really good to me too. But I just think I'm first of all appalled by Billy ran, but everybody else, this is a lame way to get on the board of trustees. Bottom line. If you were so enthusiastic, you should have done something 2 months ago or a month ago. And coming in the late, it doesn't really. I think Billy would be great because we would keep the cohesion of what we've had the last 4 years. I think addressing, I'd like someone to do something about sidewalks downtown and the noise ordinance personally, as someone who lives downtown and has to deal with increased tourist. I didn't hear anything about sidewalks. I hear all this other stuff that's all great and fine, but we need sidewalks. And I think that's about it for my rant tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa. You should stick around for the strategic planning if you'd like to hear about sidewalks. So,
yeah, I'm going to stick on. I think sidewalks are great. Someone
So
fell
do we.
the other day, hit her head, you know?
we are
so.
pro sidewalks.
Yep.
All right. Anyone else online who would like to make a public comment? Macy, do we have anyone else? I can't see. You can't, okay. All right, it looks like those are our two public comments for this particular topic. We will close it down now and bring it back to the board for discussion and a motion. So first discussion. So again, candidates, we will be discussing you here. And we have a request for a recess. Yes. How long do you need? 5 minutes. We'll make it 7 just to make sure you have enough time. Okay. All right. So let's take a 7-minute break. Actually, it's 8 minutes. Let's just do 8 minutes. We'll round up to 9 o'clock. We'll be back at 9 o'clock to finish this conversation. Okay. Yep. All right, everyone, it is 9 o'clock. Welcome back to a thrilling BOT meeting. All right, so we are now at the stage of having board discussion about the candidates that we have just heard from. So with that, we'll open it up for any comments from the Board of Trustees about the candidates. Anybody want to venture? Go first.
I'll go first.
Go for it, Andrew.
I'm really encouraged seeing Billy Giblin here. I know it was a really close election, and I think it's encouraging for the community to see him back here, and I'd love the opportunity for him to be on this board again.
Are you going to venture into the other seat? Not yet. Okay, no, that's all right.
Well, not yet. I don't, and maybe we can discuss that, but I don't know how the rest of you feel about that. But I would like to think that we all agree that he would be a asset for this board. So is there any way we could vote on that first?
Let's just rush that along. I appreciate that. Let's hear from everyone first
Okay.
before we do the motions, just so that we can give fair treatment to
Yeah.
all the candidates before us.
100%.
Got it. Cool. Okay. Any other thoughts?
I do have a sort of related question, since they are separate resolutions, right? So does it make sense to do one seat, even if it involves reviewing all the candidates, do
Sure.
one seat
And then do
make
another.
a motion, appoint that one, and then do the next?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's how it was working out in my brain.
It's the cleanest way.
It's the
Right.
clean.
Yeah, sorry. That's what I was trying
Yeah.
to say, I
Oh,
guess.
and OG says it's the cleanest way. So
Excellent.
I've called OG. I've been insulted for being a gravel cyclist. I'm glad I gave up triathlon, or man, you would have really gone after me.
OG gravel rider. I see something coming.
Not even. Nope. No comment.
No. Okay. All right. Any other comments? But yes, just to clarify, that's how we'll do the motions at the end.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I think this goes along with what Trustee Jocelyn said, but I feel like the town has more or less already voted on Billy. So that answers perhaps Teresa's comments.
From public comment. Yeah.
Agree with that, but I just want to start by, I want to thank all 5 of you guys for coming forward and stepping up and doing this, because I know at least a couple of you have, 3 of you know what you're getting into and just really appreciate the interest in what we're doing and trying to serve your town. And thank you guys, all 5 of you, for stepping up and applying for this position. It's always that hard case where we get 5 people who want to serve the town and we can only choose 2, and it sucks every time, but thank
Yep.
you.
Agreed. Okay. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, similar sentiment. Again, everybody who applied, extremely grateful, and those of you who have done this before, even more grateful, because that's, yeah, like Trustee Larson said, you know what you're getting into. And so that's great. Would have been awesome to have more candidates in the election, but I realize that not everybody was queued up for that. So we'll take what we can get. So, and to expand on Trustee Jocelyn's point, yeah, I think Billy is a excellent and fairly easy first choice. And I think all of the candidates did a great job at, expressing their strengths and their interest. And so another vote will be, more challenging. So,
okay.
Thanks, everybody.
I just want to add, based on the fact that you won the election, we'd be doing this tonight either way. We'd be appointing somebody to this position
For one seat.
No matter what. So the fact that we're doing 2 instead of 1, we'd be doing this either way.
This is true. And so to pile on the sentiment of one of the candidates, he'll receive my vote, even though he didn't vote for me when I got appointed. Or Luke. So, Billy has provided a great amount of expertise, and he has a lot of experience in this community. And regardless of who was going to win the mayoral campaign, having both of us serve and with our different strengths and qualities was always going to be a benefit to Nederland. So I also will be voting a yes for Billy. All right, so we want to check one. So since we've heard, well, hold on. Let's talk about the second one first before we make a motion, if that's okay. Just so that we can get through this and have a little bit of a concerted effort. So does anyone want to start offering up their thoughts for the second candidate? This one's hard, huh? Tough?
You know, I'm gonna speak up here. I served 4 years with Topher on the board, both as a trustee and then my first term as mayor. He was on board, and like you said, we dealt with some complex issues at the time: the Second Street project, the wastewater treatment plant, the town shop, things that we managed to do as a town that were very successful. And a lot of the good things that came out of that were questions that Topher raised, connections he has living down on Second Street, in fact, not to dox you or anything. But you know, his familiarity with his town and the connection to his town, I think, is a huge asset. Personally, I'm very much in favor of him coming back because of his knowledge and because of how I've seen him handle these things in our board. So huge supporter of him and really, really happy he's willing to come back and work with us.
Okay, thank you. Other thoughts?
That's great, Chris. That's great context. I didn't know that you guys were cohabitating on the same board. So
it's one way to put it.
Yeah, and I haven't known Topher for as long, but he and I have a very parallel life story, and so I have a lot of respect for his decision making, both in this context of the BOT and out in the world. And I've seen his level-headed approach to a lot of things. So yeah, I feel really grateful that he was willing to step up, given everything that is going on in his life. So and with all of that, this still isn't an easy decision. So I am going to take a few minutes and think a little bit more and process. But for now, those are my immediate thoughts.
Okay. I'll go. So first, I'll kind of articulate what I appreciated about each of the candidates. Nellie, I appreciate the tenacity that you're moving forward with and pursuing a paralegal, degree. That's always, whenever somebody has to get back up and go back, and go back to school, it's a huge amount of courage. And so that's meaningful. And I appreciate that you're doing that. And I would also say, from John Stevens, from your perspective, like the construction, your background, I think that that's something that was also highlighted with Jesse Seaver's background, is like this emphasis on infrastructure, like absolutely no contestment there and no arguing there, that is still something that Nederland has to continue to keep an eye on. What I'm surprised by is our three other candidates, and I'll leave out Billy because we're kind of in agreement with him, but the other two have served before. And I think, like you said, Chris, you kind of know what you're getting into, and that's a huge asset. Not only, do these candidates articulate what they know, their previous government experience, they what is going well within the town. It is an important kind of skill set to be able to pull on not just the things that we have to work on, but the things that we are doing well so that we continue those things as well. That's just as important as rectifying and doing things better. So that's encouraging. And I'm also encouraged, Topher, your past experience, even though I didn't serve with you, some of the things that seemed to motivate you were like around the ski area and making sure that we keep sort of that local experience, or like that, making sure that we don't get lost in that process. And Jesse, I do have experience with actually serving. We worked very well together. And his emphasis on the civil construction, like I said, mirroring kind of John, but that is an asset. And I think that is something that, we could always pull on. And I do remember your neighborly disputes thing. Like that was always something that was intriguing. And what I liked about that was that it was on the fringes of how I thought about things. And I really like pulling people in that don't exactly think like everyone else on the board. Like I would have never come up with a neighborly disputes thing. And yet that and a couple of other things, I was just like, Jesse just sees things differently. And so, I think where I'm sort of anchoring right now is that I am liking that we've got some folks with previous experience between Topher and Jesse. Like the relationships that we build with staff, the relationships that we build together, and this good faith will is critical and important for us in order to move forward. So I'm considering between Jesse and Topher at this moment, and both bring different skill sets that I could see working. And I think like you, Mayor Pro Tem Miller, I'm going to kind of just sit here with the both of them and hear what other folks have to say. So. Who's up?
I'll jump in here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think much like Billy being a, I guess, air quotes, turnkey BOT member now, looking at Topher and Jesse, they're nearly the same. I was quite impressed with Jesse's knowledge of current goings on with the BOT, as well as his interactions with the staff members. And for Topher, having the past experience and a quite long history with the town, I think looking between the two, Topher seems to have a little less on his plate. And hearing the work that Jesse's done outside of BOT, maybe keeping his focus there would be maybe better served for the community. So I'm probably leaning more towards Topher. That's it.
Was it 6 months ago when I was over there?
Feels like 2 years
6
ago.
years
Yeah,
ago.
6 years ago.
It's hard. And I do want to thank everybody that applied. Coming here is a hard thing to do, and to do it voluntarily. Kudos to all of you for wanting to help. Yeah, I'm a huge toss up. I know Jesse from work, and we've always worked well together. I'm encouraged by a lot of what you said, which was news to me. Like we always just talk work, so I was encouraged a lot by what Topher has to say too, and I am such at a toss up right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, were you gonna
Well,
say something?
I was inspired by your approach of just kind of going through and touching on the strengths of each candidate. I think, and I'm just making some notes, and it's kind of helping me bring things into focus. So I'm going to just kind of do that and uh, be open with my thinking. And I don't know, I because I also was initially appointed before I ran in the election, and
I didn't vote for him either, and I regret it. And I wish I had voted for him. I apologize to his wife every day. It's just awful. So anyway, we make mistakes.
But to touch on what Andrew said, it's tough being an applicant rather than a candidate. And when you're a candidate, you don't really have to, you face the voters, but it's not in this intimate setting. So, props to all of you guys for stepping up to this because it's hard. And So anyway, so I'm just going to kind of run through everybody and kind of give my thoughts. Nellie, like Nicole said, the paralegal approach. I mean, having somebody who understands a lot of the legal frameworks, not just for Netherlands but for Colorado as a whole, that's a huge thing, and it's a huge undertaking. So that it shows a lot of determination, and the sort of focus on really wanting to improve things. I think there in any town, in any place, there's always a lot of things that need improving. And we do our best. John, I remember when you ran previously, one of your main points was the infrastructure concerns, which hasn't gotten any less since you ran last time. It's still a big issue. And I mean, it's a big thing. Some of those are almost insurmountable, and some of the things that we face are still an issue because we don't always have the resources to fix all these things. That even as much as we know that they're an issue, it's the challenge is sometimes just figuring out how to come up with the resources, whether that's just financial, manpower, equipment, whatever it is. And that's something that the town staff, Jesse's touched on this, town staff has done an amazing job of doing a lot with a very small resource pool. So another plug for town staff. Topher I already touched on a fair amount, but something else that I want to say, Topher's got a lifetime of experience in the outdoor industry, which it feels like is a lot more of Netherlands' future, outdoor recreation, outdoor industry. And so that experience, I think, is extremely valuable as we sort of look to the future of what Netherlands is facing. Jesse, I forget who said it best, but someone tonight said, Jesse is a builder. He's a positive energy, motivated, get things done. It's one of the things I admire the most about you is just going for it. You know, so that's great. Your past experience on not just BOT, but the other boards like gives more context for not, something I have noticed in my time on the BOT, not having any experience in the other boards besides just being pro sab liaison. Like there's a lot of things I don't understand in the other workings. That's really excellent. And your relationship with town staff, working with them, understanding what their jobs are and how they get it done, helping them to make it better. Super great. And you like bikes.
Always a plus when you like bikes in this community.
I like bikes. So it really, it's obvious to me everybody brings some strengths. So one of the things that which somebody else touched on, Jesse's positive builder characteristics have made him actually very effective outside of the board, which I was actually expecting that's where you were going to be. So I would welcome you back for sure. And I am still brewing on my final
Brewing,
my
goodness.
final decisions, but those are my current feelings about everybody's strengths, and I'm really grateful for all of you. Thanks again.
All right.
I'm just going to point out here, once we appoint these two, we're going to have a board whose every single member of this board, except for Matthew, their first term, they were appointed to the board.
It's kind of how it happens, I
It's
guess.
how it happens, yeah.
Okay.
But, you know, you stick around and you run for your subsequent elections.
And then you end up being mayor.
Yep.
Matthew will be there in a few years. Just keep at it. I move to approve resolution 2026-15, appointing William Giblin. William Billy Giblin to the Board of Trustees.
Second.
Can I have a roll call?
Trustee Jocelyn,
Yes.
Trustee Larson,
Yes.
Mayor Sterling.
Yes.
Trustee Kennedy
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion's approved.
All right. And okay, and so now in the situation, I'm going to force us to like make decisions here. So
Just
I'm-
a side question.
yes.
Well,
No, he can't. Because
Okay.
he's not sworn in yet.
well, I was going to say, what if we swore him in?
Because then you
Okay.
have 6.
Okay. All right.
I like
Yep.
where your head was going because he
Just
was like, wait a
just thinking about
second.
it.
Right. All right. So I'm going to force us into a decision here. I move to approve resolution 2026-16, appointing Jesse Severs to the Board of Trustees. Is there a second?
Yes.
Macy?
Mayor Sterling,
Yes.
Trustee Jocelyn,
Yes.
Trustee Larson,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Miller,
No, but only just because I'm not ready yet.
Oh,
and Trustee Kennedy.
No.
Okay, thank you. The motion is not approved.
I move to approve resolution 2026-16, appointing Topher Donahue to the Board of Trustees.
Second.
Trustee Kennedy,
Yes.
Trustee Jocelyn,
Told you this part always sucks.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Miller,
Yes.
Mayor Sterling,
That's two. I haven't voted yet.
what's that? We have a motion on the table. We can't. No.
and Trustee Larson.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion's approved.
Hey, let's give a round of applause for everyone. This is not easy. And I think I'm going to back up the point that actually running for appointment is oftentimes harder. So I'm going to back that up 100%. So
And you would have been awesome.
you know what? Go for it. Come on up. Make a comment. This is a special comment. This is Jesse comment period.
I think you guys made a great choice. I was telepathically trying to tell you to vote that way.
What else are you telepathically trying to tell us to do?
I think Topher is amazing. And I really enjoyed watching him serve as a trustee last time when he was there, and I had the privilege to see him deliberate and make decisions. And I think you guys made a great choice, and I'm completely available to all of you. You all have my number. You can text me anytime, and the same goes for the staff. So I will continue to show up and make public comments and answer any questions and chime in anytime you need it.
Thanks, Jesse. All right.
And Jesse, thank you for just your almost endless offers of generosity towards the town. I know it doesn't always get picked up or taken, but you are endlessly generous and supportive. So thank you.
All right, audience, we are now going to have the swearing in of our trustees. And the first up is Mr. Giblin. All right, raise your right hand. I, Billy Giblin, do solemnly affirm
Firm.
that I will support and uphold the Constitution of the United States,
That I will support and uphold the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Colorado,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Colorado,
and the ordinances of the town of Nederland,
and the ordinances of the town of Nederland,
and that I will faithfully and to the best of my skill and ability
and that I will faithfully and to the best of my skill and ability
perform the duties of the office of the Board of Trustees
perform the duties of the office of the Board of Trustees
of the town of Nederland upon which I am about to enter.
of the town of Nederland, upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
All right, have a seat.
Appreciate it.
Topher, are
guys-
you available?
I am. Can you hear me? Can I do this from the Eastern time zone?
Well, this is the true test and your first test to see how well you do here, okay?
Okay.
All right, it is in the packet if you need visually to follow along. Otherwise, you're going to do it all auditory. So here we go. I, Topher Donahue, do solemnly affirm
I, Topher Donahue, do solemnly affirm
that I will support and uphold the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support and uphold the Constitution of the United States,
Hey, Topher, are you still there? That's him. That's not us. Yeah. Topher, we lost you. If you are there, please come back. Yeah, please come back.
Is everyone else there, or did we just lose him?
Oh.
Or is it us?
No,
Jennifer?
I'm here. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
here.
okay. Okay.
Oh, he's
Oh,
here.
hello, Topher. All right, welcome back. Can you speak so we can make sure we hear you? Oh, you're on mute or something.
Can you hear me?
Okay, now we can hear you. Okay, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, here we go, my friend. Let's try this again from the top. Ready?
Yep.
I, Topher Donahue, do solemnly affirm
I, Topher Donahue, do solemnly affirm
that I will support and uphold the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support and uphold the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Colorado,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Colorado,
and the ordinances of the town of Nederland,
and the ordinances of the town of Nederland,
and that I will faithfully and to the best of my skill and ability
and that I will faithfully and to the best of my skill and ability
perform the duties of the office of the Board of Trustees
perform the duties of the office of the Board of Trustees
of the town of Nederland upon which I am about to enter.
of the town of Nederland upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, Trustee Donahue. Welcome to the board.
Thank you for putting up with this.
And now that we are done, Town Manager Kane, will you take us away with strategic planning, please?
Mayor and trustees, as it's 9:30, what I've decided to do is share my screen with you. In general, as you know, we've been talking about our strategic plan for some time. What Mayor Sterling and I have been doing is putting together kind of the priorities that you see in the multimodal plan, in the sub-area plan, in the comprehensive plan, and then some things that have happened in board discussion, and tried to create a list of priorities on things that need to happen. What we've generated is a survey that we'd like to publish to the Board of Trustees tomorrow. I'd also like direction to give this to the advisory board so that they can complete the same survey because it does include some of their work. And then I'd like to publish a public version of this as well so people can give you feedback on it. Then what we'd like to do is go ahead and get some survey results. In my aim, which I'm not looking at right now. We were looking at the second week in June to have that work session. We were originally planning on having it next week, but then when we started thinking about having the survey more publicly available, we thought maybe we'd give people time to fill that out. So that's kind of what we have here. I wanted to walk you through this planning exercise. I know some of you are newer to the board and wanted to make sure that you understand how this is structured and what the priorities are and kind of how we're thinking about this. In the beginning here, one of the things we talk about is what the process is. This is kind of looking at priorities and ranking them is essentially what you're doing. There's some required work in here that we have to do, but there's also other work that has kind of come up in these priority conversations, and we're trying to figure out what the most important things are and where board level priorities are, where advisory board and commission priorities are, some things about community life. What we'd like to do is take the responses from you and everyone else and create another survey and some work session materials for that work session that kind of look at capacity, budget, legal, process, partner sequencing, and SMART goal analysis. SMART goals are a way to structure goals so that we can stay accountable to them. So they just give us a process to build them out so we know who is doing the task, how we're kind of accomplishing it, and when and how that'll happen. One thing that I really want to put a framework on this work is that we have a great deal of work that we're already doing as our organization. For the one thing, we're a service organization. And so we have all of our departments are kind of doing department level work. That's everything from making sure toilets flush to water's clean to our trails and sidewalks are maintained and that we keep working on these infrastructure projects. Britt is constantly working on building permits for folks that come into town hall for that purpose and long range planning. Macy's working on business licensing and other things in the clerk's world. So there's a lot of like kind of frontline work that this kind of takes place within the backdrop of. But that being said, what we try to do here is kind of talk about department work plans and then also projects and like what we need to do to move Nederland forward. I do want to kind of echo something that Mayor Sterling said at the beginning. This document is a bit of a beast. It is a tight 16 pages, but it could have been 75 pages real easily. And we tried real hard to keep it down. So I tried to identify all priorities. I've been told there's one missing that I know is missing. So I'm just going to highlight that when we get to that section, just so you guys have it. And then I will modify this survey before it comes out to you tomorrow to include that. I'm going to walk through you really quick. The first section here is required work. This is not everything the town is doing, but these are kind of the big projects that we need to keep working on in 2026 to 2028. They're not optional. And one of the things I'm really trying to frame this in is that when we look at these, remember there's staff time, there's board time, there's budget capacity, legal support, consultant support, and organizational focus that we really need to put into putting these forward. Some of these projects have been going on, like Big Springs Egress for decades, and we are going to finish that. That's something that's happening. So these are the things that I've got under that list. The first is the Eldora acquisition and enterprise transition. This is just completing the transaction and to begin working on folding the operation into our public structures. This is including governance, finance, debt management, indenture compliance, HR, technology, risk, insurance, legal, staffing, public communication, and planning work. There's a lot of things there. And I think really what we want to do is really think about what does it mean to own Eldora? How do we set it up to be successful? Where's the board's role? Where's staff's role? And how does the public become involved in that? And those are really the big things. Second priority I have here, and this is probably, if you were to ask me what my top priority is, it would be these two, the Eldora acquisition, and then also general fund stabilization and financial modernization. What I mean by that is that I'm fairly optimistic that we can start working to restore our general fund balance. As you know, we had a structural deficit coming into this year and last year. It's something that's existed to some degree for some time in our budget. And what we would like to do is look at, this is kind of a staff goal, but to restore that fund balance that we had in the general fund, to modernize our process, to improve our tools for reporting, to look at how we allocate our budget across different funds, and to connect service levels to what the town can afford. This is just really foundational work that we need to continue doing every year, basically. On the project level, we have the SMS project. This is Safer Main Streets. This is a project that we will be engaging in very soon and completing very soon. It essentially puts new crosswalks on the highway, and then it also builds a new sidewalk that goes essentially from Tungsten Village to the museum. For those of you that have been on the board for the last bit of time, you know that we have bid this project out, and we're working through the CDOT process to get them ready to mobilize. And we're hoping that this will be happening very soon. TIPS project is a related project. Originally, TIPS and SMS are supposed to happen together. TIPS requires more federal work in terms of getting easements to do things. But this project builds new sidewalks on First Street from essentially the RTD lot to the visitor center. It changes some of the parking configurations there. There's stormwater improvements, EV charging that we already have done but will continue to improve. Looking at bike racks, parking lot work, wayfinding. Some of the pieces of this are done, but we do need to bid out the larger construction project. Currently, where we stand on that is we're working through what's called the Uniform Act, which is a federal act requiring certain things as we kind of work with property owners, getting temporary easements so that we can finalize that work and get it out for bid. CEO grant implementation. Britt and Cass led the effort to get this grant, and it does some really cool things for Nederland. One is it allows us to do some ADU policy and support work. ADUs are accessory dwelling units. It's a area that we've been working on a lot in planning since I've been here. One of the things it would do is give us a kind of a design book, if you will, of ADU plans that are already engineered. That's a little bit easier for people to get into one. And then it would also do some more support work to make sure we're a supportive community for the things that we need to do for ADUs. It also does some downtown First Street mobility planning, which is sidewalks. This is where we get to the infrastructure project for sidewalks. It's a multi-step process for that. We need to look at some survey work, and then we need to look at how we build that street. There's going to be important to have emergency services involved in this conversation to make sure we have the right turn lanes, all the right setup for fire trucks, parking, all of those things. So a good deal of community engagement in that. And then another project to look at how we finally make that connection to Nederland Middle and Senior High School from essentially from where Old Town is kind of what the goal is there. And so that's one of the projects that isn't necessarily a construction project, but it's trying to move the needle on those projects, which we have been trying to do for a long time. BCHA Affordable Housing Study. This is one that you guys voted on in the last meeting. This is just a study to evaluate whether the Rodeo Court site that BCHA owns and adjacent town property could support additional housing. It doesn't commit us to build any housing. It doesn't do anything other than look at those sites. For those of you that have been on the board for some time, you'll know kind of in 2024, there was direction to staff and to Jennifer Madsen to look at town-owned property to see which may be most feasible for affordable housing. Where that left off is looking at that parcel of land that's right next to Rodeo Court. And I think when Planning Commission talked about it, one of the things they talked about is maybe using part of it for housing if it's appropriate and maybe leaving the rest of it wild. That's definitely an option. This project would include a good deal of community engagement and looking at that property. As you probably know, we have wastewater right there. We have all the utilities right there that make it a good chance that maybe it's something worth looking at, but it doesn't, like, again, it's not a commitment. This is just trying to get through that planning effort. Next project I have on the list is the Big Springs egress planning phase completion and capital project readiness. We are really working hard to complete the planning phase this year of the project. We're hoping that we can do it. Billy mentioned this in his comments, but we want this to be done very soon on the planning phase. We have some additional work that needs to happen once we are able to kind of identify the route, which would include what's called a NEPA review, which is Environmental Protection Act, and then looking at just the different kind of construction things we need to do to get to what's commonly called a shovel-ready design, or something that could be put out to bid. Once that's done, we need to start working on the funding and capital strategy for the road. There will be some significant costs related to this project. I'm guessing it will be a few $1 million at least. And so what we need to do is figure out what that cost is going to look like, which will be part of this getting to a shovel-ready design, and then start looking for funding partners and strategies so we can complete that work. But the goal would be to get that capital project ready to go and start going after money for it. Next on the list, I have utility rates, plant investment fees, water rights, utility capital planning. This is a big bucket. And I want to tell you, it's probably one of the things that's going to take the most capacity and time to really work through with the board. There's a couple of pieces here. It's water rights. It's looking at our current utility rate structure. We recently had a water and wastewater rate study done with a company called Raftellus. Staff is not super happy with the results of that study. So we've been working on it and trying to improve it and really thinking through what our priorities are. But there needs to be a strategic planning effort for the board, specifically around capital planning and what our future is for water. But there's a couple things that really need to happen. One is last year, the Board of Trustees looked at a water model, which we can bring back forward for those of you who weren't here. There's some improvements we'd like to make in terms of the size of our water mains to make sure that we have good water flow for fire safety and for just redundancy. We have some water tank things we need to do, our water skids at the plants, looking at those and making sure they're good. The board also recently approved staff to do a capital inventory project, I'll call it. And basically what it's doing right now, first phase is water, wastewater, looking at all our resources, which includes valves, it includes skids, different kinds of processes and treatments that we have, and making sure that we're grading those so that we can build those into a capital plan that we can really fund on in the future. And what that really boils down to is when we look at our utility rates and our plant investment fees, those are our water and wastewater funds are what's called an enterprise fund. So under Tabor, what Tabor does is it says that enterprise funds need to be supported by user fees. And so plant investment fees and utility rates are how we pay for the infrastructure of our plant. It's how everybody kind of pays into that system. And one of the questions that we really need to investigate is how can we keep PIF fees manageable in our tiny system that we do have? How do we keep water rates manageable, but still continue to upgrade our system where we do have some older infrastructure and things that really do need to happen that are going to be that do have prices associated with them. So these decisions are really about long-term system sustainability, affordability, and infrastructure planning. Last thing I have under required is current department work plans, core services, operational continuity. This is me being your town manager and telling you, hey, my staff wants to try really hard. They have a lot of work on their plates and they want to make sure that they're delivering for you all and giving you guys a good resident experience and that we're executing projects, but that we're also really focused on day-to-day municipal services, grant management, public meetings, development review, utilities, streets, parks, facilities, community center operations, records, finance, licensing, public communication, emergency support, and then kind of unplanned things. We have big development applications that come in, or Macy might have a big liquor license that comes in, and those things take time. And I think what we want to do is build a structure so that we can continue to deliver those services, but also execute on these bigger priorities, which we have as well.
Thank you. So those being like the required, these are things that are work in progress that we're sort of bound to because of legal and or grant reasons that we have to execute on. Would that be a correct statement?
Yeah. And so in this section, we didn't create a ranking for these items because I think they're kind of all continuing, but we did ask a couple of questions. One, is anything missing from this list? Two, do you have questions or comments about these priorities? I think in our second phase, if there are things that you think that we're doing or that we need to be, that should be in that required list, this is the section. I want to make sure that you have a long form section to add what you think those requirements are.
For the next few, can you just sort of introduce the section, the next sections that we have, instead of reading through each one of them? Looks like we have a,
yeah,
do you have a comment?
A quick question on the required work. Is there a way to get a sense of scale? Like, the way you said, all of these things are taking staff, resources, budget.
Yes.
Is there a way for us to get a sense of
we have an idea.
So I know you can't quantify it completely, but
well,
just kind of like
the original idea when we started this, because this project kind of grew a little bit, to be fair. The original idea was to give you a capacity coefficient is what we were calling it, which is maybe a little nerdier than it has to be. But
it was the best we had. It's the best we could come up with.
We were thinking there's a couple of things, right? So we have staff capacity. There's also budget limitations and capacity. And then there's also this idea that you need to rank these priorities. Like, is it more important for you to do this or that? Yeah. And so that's why we kind of landed on this secondary step. And what I was thinking is once we have all of these things kind of lined up, so those things are different. This next session, which is on your screen now, is board priorities. These are things that have generally come up in board conversation or are in one of our adopted plans. And what I was thinking is once we have those things ranked, I can go through and I can talk to the relevant staff and do some budgetary analysis and say, hey, maybe this is possible, but we're really dependent on outside funding sources or whatever the case may be. So what I would want to do is I'd want to bring back that analysis of survey results, but also try to get that coefficient on there. So I could say, this is a 3 or whatever it is, or whatever you guys think is important there.
But we wanted the board to rank them first, because if something ends up at the bottom, let's say Lakeview Drive, right, the intersection improvements, if everyone was like, no, that's at the very bottom, we might direct staff to be like, okay, why don't you prioritize the top 5 and tell us what the impacts are instead of
Right.
worrying about the bottom 5.
Right. Well, I was just thinking, since these ones are like have to do, like getting a sense of how much
Oh, the have to do ones.
impact
Yeah.
they are, so that we sort of build a sense of like, okay, how much room do we have left over to do things that are not required?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we can definitely do that. That's part of what I was hoping to do, is just make sure you guys have that kind of, and I know right now you don't. I think what we want to do is make sure that this is reflective of what you guys think the real needs are, and then we can build that in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you could just introduce the next buckets, and then we'll come together, because really what we want the board to do is to be able to prioritize this, like read
on their
through it,
own. Yeah.
right? Prioritize, and then we're going to bring it back at a later date. So if you just introduce the following buckets.
This bucket is just board priorities. These are just potential board level policy, governance, service level, capital, or planning projects that may deserve attention in this period. So to be fair, some of these things may rise to the top as we go. They might be something that just increasingly becomes important, but there are things that we don't have to do right this second. So this list is a little bit longer. I'll just kind of go slowly through it. It's got a little bit of everything in here, but mostly these things are from the comp plan or previous board direction. I told you one trustee had noted that there was something missing that we had said we'd have in here, and that is dark sky ordinance. So I will add that box to this.
Or just, I would say just have
just
them,
add it in
yeah,
the
have them
priorities.
added in with the priorities. Is that you, Luke?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one I
Yeah, so just, add it into the priority bucket.
On the next bucket, it's plan.
Oh, I guess you want folks to be able to vote on it. You want folks to be able to prioritize it.
Well,
Right.
are we prioritizing after we review survey results, or?
No, this is the survey. So we're
This will be
going,
ranking.
this will be ranking. So folks will rank dark skies versus a roundabout versus public safety versus.
But then when people if people add new things in there, how are we going to rank?
We'll bring that back at the
Bring it
next. So if you
back.
want it to be ranked here now, then we could throw dark skies in
Okay.
to have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's no
that
problem.
makes sense.
That way it'd be on the survey for the public and the boards as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But they'll have to rank it between the other priorities.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's like a list, so you can just move up or down. So you'll end up with a list of all the priorities, and then you'll have an opportunity, that long form question.
Oh, okay.
Okay, next bucket is planning commission. One of the things we're really trying to think about through this is like aligning work plans of the boards and advisory boards to the board of trustees. I think it's a gap we've had in Nederland where that hasn't always been clear, and I think in times it's created some difficulties because it makes recommendations more difficult to follow for the board. It also makes it harder for the advisory boards to kind of make their work flow. So on the planning commission priorities that you see here, these are largely from the comprehensive plan land use section. As a note, I put all the relevant plans as packet addendums here, but I'm happy to help answer questions. They're kind of dense documents. So if you do have questions, I'm happy to help. These are the things that you see in the comp plan. There's one that came from prior board discussion here. And this is probably where if you did decide to do like a dark sky ordinance as a land use thing, and so that probably would get pushed towards planning commission first, just to kind of note that.
yeah, so that's a good point, is
Right.
that it would need to go into the planning commission bucket, because that is heavily geared towards staff and planning commission
Correct.
priorities.
Maybe that's probably, as long as I've got your direction, I'll just do that.
Yeah.
I think that's more appropriate spot.
Okay.
Me too.
DDA is on here. DDA is a little bit different. As you know, they're kind of a quasi board too. They have their own statutory authority, but they also have a plan. It's a sub-area plan is largely it, although the comprehensive plan also discusses some of their work. So some of these things, one of the things I want to note on the advisory boards, there's a piece of this where, are they a lead role? Are they an advisory role? Are they, what exactly are they doing in these positions? And that's something I would just encourage you to think about. These are all values that are in the sub-area plan. One thing that's helpful in the sub-area plan, if you look at, is it's divided into catalyst projects. We've completed one, which is the overlay districts, but these are all listed in those catalyst projects. Same kind of structure for the questions. Next is Sustainability Advisory Board. I do want to take a pause on this one and just tell you a couple things. One, the Sustainability Advisory Board has been working really hard on their, what they're calling their action plan draft, their 2026 action plan draft. And so what I've done in this is mirror their language because that's their document. They spent a good amount of time on it. It's a good document. There are a couple things I want to note. One is that when you guys were talking about PI last time, the 24/7 carbon-free energy supply, I think you indicated that because of the anticipated result, it might not be your top priority right now. So I just noted that you had had that discussion in here. I also, on the last goal, it's not in the action plan that they provided, but there were a couple other items related to sustainability and resilience that I thought might be kind of in that SAB land, which are mostly water conservation, recycling, composting, waste reduction, riparian border, things like that. And those are just comp plan goals. So I just listed those kind of as a big bucket. The Parks, Recreation, Open Space Advisory Board, very similar. These are things that are in the PROST and comp plan. The PROST we're still working on, as you know, we had just had that direction on it to really tightly align it to the comprehensive plan. But this mirrors the structure you see in the PROST currently. That might change a tiny bit, but largely this is the same structure that the PROST has. And for those of you who don't know, the PROST is the Parks and Recreation Open Space Plan that's in draft form right now. This last bucket is what we're calling the fun bucket, just because I think, you know, it's a good name.
We can come up with something
You're going to have
better.
a bucket. It's better than a slot bucket. So, but these are just things that have come up over time of things we could do. Things like, how do we activate places where people can play? You know, we've talked about concrete cornhole boards or things like that. Fireworks have come up more than once. Drone shows, like obviously there's things that are constraints on those things happening, but we put them here because they're community conversations. Nothing here is set in stone. These are just things that could be worked on. One big one here is volunteer system. We do have a lot of challenges with how we use volunteers, and that is something that could use some love and attention, especially as we move some of these projects we're talking about forward. So those are what you find there. And then this final comment section, which is just generally like, what are we missing? What should be here that should not be overcommitted to? So maybe there's something here that you really feel strongly about that really isn't something that needs to be a priority right now, or maybe we don't have somebody to drive it. But we just wanted to make sure that these were here. This last question, just what do you want to clarify? Maybe there's something, you know, maybe we need to focus on a particular area of something too. That's kind of how the survey works. I'm going to modify it just kind of how we planned on. I would like direction if you guys are comfortable with me publishing this to the public, to the advisory boards, and to you all. And then the last thing I wanted to note is, as Nicole and I were looking at this, it looks like really the truth is getting it next week is going to be difficult, but we have the idea, maybe we have survey results be due next Wednesday, May 27th. That would allow us to kind of present those results in kind of an unfiltered form on June 2nd. That's the kind of the packet deadline. Then what we could do is hold that work session on June 9th, which is a little later than we talked about. Do that at 6 p.m. But then we would basically be able to bring forward that capacity coefficient kind of analysis and then kind of bring forward that final version of what this could look like based on your comments and what the survey results said. And then we would plan on bringing forward the final draft of the strategic plan for discussion on the 16th. You could then move that item to action if you want to approve it, or you can make changes. So this process doesn't have to be done then, but we're trying to keep moving towards like the final version of this so you guys can kind of get that rolling. One of the things that's really important about this is really going to dictate our budget process as we kind of move forward, and we are going to move quickly into budget. So getting this to where we at least have an idea of where we're moving would be good. I think the only thing we didn't really talk about is SMART goals. Are you guys comfortable with that concept? Is there anything about how we structure these goals that you'd like to talk about or have questions about?
Okay, and let's take the time right now. I want to make a motion to extend the meeting to 10:30. Do I have a second?
Second.
Kennedy.
Right. And that was 10:30. All right. Mayor Sterling,
Yes.
Trustee Kennedy,
Yes.
Trustee Jocelyn,
Yes.
Trustee Larson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Miller,
Yes.
Trustee Giblin,
Yes.
and Trustee Donahue.
You're muted.
No.
Agreed.
you.
You're on Eastern time. I can, I
I'm
I feel
fine,
you
but
for you. I feel for you, man. Okay, so let's go through this phase. If there's any clarifying questions right now for Town Manager Kane, so that we can get to public comment and then discussion.
Yep.
And
Quick-
go through here.
Quick one. So for the sub committee and sub board priorities, a lot of those are going to be taken on by those boards, right? So like when we're talking about capacity, like this isn't just BOT staff, like we're also factoring in capacity for each of those boards. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct. And one of the things that I'll say it's an ivory tower kind of thing. Like not everything has to be perfect, but in general, what happens is a board of trustees poses a question or a work plan to a board. So like, for instance, in planning commission, if you did do the dark sky ordinance, you'd say, hey, planning commission, look at this dark sky ordinance. And then they would do some work on that. I think that's where we have had a tiny bit of a gap on some of the work with the
Right.
advisory boards. So the intention here would be to give them work plans that kind of align to the board of trustees as well, so that all of that work kind of pulls the
Right.
same
Yeah.
cart.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I'm just like trying to think of like, understanding the capacity, like we
Yeah.
need to understand capacity of the planning commission, capacity of
Yeah.
SAB. Yeah.
And that's why
Okay.
we want to share the survey
Right.
with them.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and part of it will be like, oh, this one topic potentially for sustainability board or ProSab is like a year-long effort. That's what we came to find out with the sub area plan and some of the
Yeah.
changes. It was a year-long program.
Right.
So
Yeah. And some of these are just, it's a year long and it takes, an hour a week. And some of them are full gas, full time. So
yeah.
And some are staff driven largely with just decision points. So that's the other thing.
Just want to say one quick thing. When Chris was mayor, so this was like 2021, 2022. And the marijuana ordinance and what they did, which I thought was effective and maybe would work for some of these things, is like a trustee worked with two commissioners, say in the planning commission. And we had to post those meetings. It was me, Julian and Jim Reese. And we had to post those meetings, and Cynthia was there, but it was real effective because it kept things moving. It actually moved it quickly and brought it back to the BOT. So it was actually
like kind of like a focus group or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
A subcommittee.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was a trustee and two commissioners. And so we had to post, again, we had to notice the meetings and sometimes people came, but they were quick and efficient and it moved the whole effort quickly and back to the BOT.
Any other clarifying questions for Town Manager Kane? Trustee Donahue, anything from your side? I don't see you
Nope.
falling asleep yet. I think you're still with us.
Nope. No questions yet.
Okay, so let's go ahead and go to public comment on this discussion item, strategic planning for 2026 to 2028. Any comments in the room for strategic planning? Okay, so let's have Nellie, let's have you come up first, and then sir, you'll come up second, and then we will move to public comment in online. So, all right, Nellie, go for it first.
Just push.